My sister was so spoiled growing up, and I was basically the laughing stock of my family. Well, once they decided to disown me, the joke was on them. I had the biggest blow up you've probably ever seen, and now I'm filthy rich. Hello, my name's Soraya. I'm 46 female, and I'm the mother of two lovely sons. But their father took them from me after I lost my job. My sister Rachna is a high school newly graduate who is making her dreams come true. But apart from making her dreams come true, she makes fun of my financial situation that I'm now starting to think that maybe it's permanent. Well, father has spoiled her and now she's uncontrollable. She has no respect for me and it's all his fault. Accounting was always my favorite subject in school, and my father always told me to do what I do best because chances of nailing it to the ground is 100%. But he would always want me to be interested in teaching. And when I went off to college, I studied accounting and auditing. I felt unstoppable because I was doing something that I fully enjoyed, and I was good at it as well. My father was very proud of me. I was about to become the first member of the family to do accounting. Everyone else was an ordinary school teacher. But I knew that I was not destined to be like them. I completed my honors degree and continued with a master's. I was not only different because I studied a different course, but because I was becoming the highest educated person in the entire house. It made me feel powerful, and although I was the highest educated person, I never crossed my limits of respect towards my parents or my aunties and uncles. I always had big dreams of starting my own firm one day, but I'm starting to think that I will never get there. After I completed my master's degree, my sister Rachna was about 3 years of age. Because my college knew me as the best accounting student, it was easy for me to find a job. I was then placed in the biggest bank in town. I never felt assured that I was meant to prosper and be something big in life. It was in the bank where I met Bandhu. I wasn't really into relationships because I was married to my work. I loved my work and that I could not get my hands off the transaction books. So many men had asked me out, but I was too busy with work, and when I met Bandhu, it was different. I still don't know what charm or trick he played on me, as I still don't know why I blindly fell in love with him. We started going out, and I was able to fit him into my busy schedule. And even though my schedule was so tight, I always made time for family, and that is one thing that father loved for, because I never forget about family. After 2 years of dating with Bandhu, we got married and had our first lovely son. It was the happiest moments of my life. Motherhood is a wonderful gift, and I worked my way up into the bank and became a senior branch manager and auditor. My life was going pretty smooth. I moved out of my family's house as I had to secure a safe home for my new family. My husband was sometimes unemployed as he worked on contracts with construction companies. But I made sure to support him all the way, and 7 years later, I had my second child. I was just about to be transferred to the main branch of the bank in the city until misfortune struck me down to nothing. A large amount of money was reported missing in the bank, and because I was the manager at the time, I was to blame for the infringement. I tried fixing it, but it got worse, as they later discovered an account opened under my name. Not only that, but there was a large sum of money transferred to the account just a few days before the money was reported missing. I honestly don't know or get why someone would want to ruin someone else's life like that. I was then dismissed from my duties as a manager. I left the bank in search of another job, but it seemed that the news traveled pretty fast to the other banks around town, and it was as it's still impossible to find a job. Because of the way I was portrayed in the story, my bank told every companion in town, and my life has not been the same since. 2 months after I told my husband about the news, he decided it was for the best if we would just get divorced. I was hurt, but that's when it starts making sense to me that he was only with me for the money. Getting divorced was the most devastating news I've ever gotten from him. I braced myself and went through the whole procedure, and I must admit, it was not the easiest thing to do. But it had to be done. My ex-husband was unemployed at the time of the divorce, and he had no possessions. And because we signed the prenup, he got half of everything I owned. I was trying to be a strong person for my 2 sons, but the mask that I was putting on was getting to be pretty see-through. I couldn't handle it anymore. And so I started drinking alcohol like crazy, and I ignored the fact that I was running out of money. The kids hardly noticed that I was drunk, because I would drink when they're at school and doze off right before they come home. Until their school fees were not paid for months and I got contacted by their school. It was even worse because I had no money to pay for their school fees, and a few months later, Bandhu showed up with a court order that he gained full custody of the children. Bandhu was determined to take everything from me. That includes my children as well. And I could not do anything about it because I didn't have money to pay for a lawyer. And a few months later, he sold his share of the house. I was forced to move out of my own house, and so I moved back in with my family. My room was given away to my little sister, and so I had to share a room with her. It's been 9 years since I lost my job, and honestly, I've not been emotionally stable, and neither am I mentally healthy anymore, because everything that I have gone through since I've lost my job just piled up. My sister is currently in college doing education like everybody else in the family. I'm disappointed that she chose to study education when she's so smart, yet I'm proud that she has come this far. I feel like I'm not a good role model to my young sister, and it hurts to see that she's doing just fine without me. She never came to me for advice or even asked me how I'm doing. I became a laughingstock in the family, and no one respects or cares about me. At least, not like they did when I was a bank manager. I guess nothing lasts forever, but I had the shortest life. My sister does not allow me to go to town with her because she thinks I'll embarrass her. She says that I deserve to be at the farmhouse doing farm work like all the other unemployed people. Well, my life here at home has been so hard ever since I've moved back, and I'm planning on leaving. I know I have nowhere to go, but I'd rather be in the coldest street than have my family treat me like a buffalo. And no one in the house believes me when I tell them that I am not behind the unethical behavior at the bank that cost me my job. Everyone says that our family was meant to be teachers and nothing else, but I don't believe that it's true because in life we choose to be what we want to be. And I chose a different path from the rest of my family members. All I want right now is my family support to help me get back on my feet. Even if I have to start afresh, I'll do that, as long as I have somewhere to fall. I don't know how I'm going to even inform them that I'm thinking of going back to school. But wish me luck, guys, because I'll need it very much. It's almost dinner time, and I need to get ready to tell my family about my idea of going back to school. I'll update you guys soon. What's up, everybody? Mr. Reddito here. So it looks like OP was not able to update that soon. Update number 1 took 3 months before the original post to come out, but don't worry, I have it right here for you guys. If you're enjoying the content so far, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you never miss a future video. And let's jump into update number 1, 3 months later. Well, it's been 3 months since my last post. I've never felt so insulted. My family laughed at me at the dinner table when I told them that I was thinking of going back to school. I was receiving all kinds of bad comments, and my father said to me, quote, "I know that you wanted to be a different and special person, but what is made for you will always be yours. You've already wasted enough time in life trying to prove us wrong, and look where that's gotten you. Now, you're thinking of going back to school? Back to school to do what?
By the time you graduate again, you'll be retiring already. Stop thinking too much. Stay at home, doing nothing.
I felt like my world came crumbling down due to my father's words to my head. They were piercing through my poor broken heart. I ran into my room and locked the door, and after everyone was done eating, Rachna came to the room and made a scene about me locking the door. It was not my intentions to lock her outside. I just wanted to have some sad time alone. Far from the judgmental people who think I was just being egotistical, and not that I was following my passion and dream. I'm still trying to make peace with it, and it's harder than I thought. I don't feel at home with my family anymore, and I'm planning on moving out. I'll talk to my ex-husband to find out if I can stay with him and the children. I know that he'll probably disagree, as much as we were happy and in love. Somehow, I just became his worst enemy. But I have nowhere to go, and he needs to understand that and help me in my time of need. He clearly forgot how I was always by his side no matter what. I was always making sure that he had everything he ever needed. He was my priority until I lost my job. I expected so much of him, and I guess that's why it's so painful for him to get over him so quick. But I'll try, because peace of the heart is a very important aspect of one's life. My family and my husband have proven to me that I only matter when I earn so much money and I meet their personal needs, treating them like they're in a royal palace. And I've learned it the hard way. If I manage to get a job, I'll just keep it to myself, away from some crazy teenage love, and make sure that my family does not get a rupee from my pocket. Greed has consumed people around me, and all they want is to interact with people who have money. But life doesn't always throw us the good stuff. Sometimes you have to fall before you rise. At least that's what I tell myself to get through the night. I don't know if I'll ever get through this situation, but I hope I do. Because this is not a fun way to grow old with nothing but anger and agony. I just want to get back up and prove to my family that I can be something else, something big. They think my life's over because there's no money in my bank account, and I don't have a job. My kids have been taken away by their father, but that's not the end of life. I'll get up and become something of myself. 2 weeks ago, I just remembered that when my husband did not have work, he would always play lottery. So, I've also started playing the lottery. I know that it's not good to play lottery, but what other choice do I have? I'm gambling the last bit of money in my pockets. On one hand, it feels very wrong and I might regret it, but on the other hand, I have faith that something good might come of it. I'm very discreet about it because if my family finds out, I'll receive the longest lecture of my life. I'll be called names and made fun of, and I'm already tired of that kind of behavior from my sister and everyone else, and I cannot take any more of it. They can say whatever they want to say to me behind my back because it's nothing I haven't heard before. They've said so many bad things to my face, and it's on them that I've started gambling the last of the money in my pockets, because I'm trying to get them off my case. I don't sleep peacefully because my sister's always trying to rub my financial problems in my face. It's so annoying, and at times I do feel violated. When I tell Dad about it, he speaks in favor of Rachna, and gives her leverage over me. She thinks that she can say whatever she wants, and she thinks she can control me. She would throw me her clothes to do laundry and leave her dirty dishes lying about. And who am I to complain? I lost all my rights as a human the day I moved back into the house. Now I'm treated like an absolute animal. I'm expected to do all the house chores and cook dinner. I don't complain from doing house chores because it keeps me busy and fills up my mind. But there's always someone who would want to say something hurtful to me as I work. I'll keep playing that lottery secretly. And I hope something changes soon because I'm exhausted and I'm trying to avoid thoughts that will make, well, me disappear for good. Such thoughts of now kicking in and they're getting the best of me, and the harder I fight it, the stronger they get. What's up, guys? Mr. Reddito here. So, it took over 2 years for OP to finally log back into the account and post an update. Everyone in the comment section was wondering what happened to OP. Well, 2 years, 6 months, and a couple days since the last update, and here it is, update number 2. Well, in the past 32 months, a lot's happened, all good and bad. My family continued to make fun of me as usual. My sister was the leader of the Make Fun of Soraya team. I learned to accept that they'll never respect me as long as my financial situation stayed the same. I was devastated and hoped that my situation changed fast, because I was slowly reaching the edges of life. I moved out and decided to go stay with my ex-husband. The boys were at school when I went there, and I found a Bandhu at home. You're probably wondering how I know where they stay, if I've never been there before that day. It was Badal who called me someday back with his father's phone. His father had no idea that he called me, and he snuck out of the house and gave me their address. He wished me to visit them, but because of the court order, I wasn't permitted to see them. It's the cruelest thing one can do. My children are literally my whole life, and I had to live without them because Bandhu took them away from me. Everything was not going my way at all. I knocked, and my ex-husband answered. He seemed very surprised to see me and asked me, "What are you doing here? You do know you're not supposed to be here, right?" I looked at him with disgust, but he was my only solution, so I had to make peace with what he did if I was going to stay in his home. I really need a place to stay for now. My sister and everyone at home is making fun of me, and they're making me think of a lot of things that I regret. I just need a place to stay for about a month. I'll arrange somewhere to stay after that. Please, Bandhu. I tried to reason with him. He looked at me and said that there's no room for me in the house and that there's no place for me in their family and in their hearts. At that point, I was heartbroken to hear such words coming from a man I once loved and thought I knew. It was at that moment that I realized that he's a complete fraud. He's nothing but a freeloader. All he wanted was me money and nothing more. And to keep the act going, he made me bear kids for him. I was even more disgusted by him. I wondered what it was that made me fall for that good-for-nothing man anyways. I left his house because he threatened to call the police. I then bumped into my sons, and they were both so happy to see me. We hugged and shared a wonderful moment with each other. Although it wasn't for very long, I wished it was because I'd missed my son so much. They didn't want to let me go, but I couldn't afford to be seen by their crazy father being so close to them because he would call the cops instantly. It wasn't because I feared him, no, but because I had no money to bail myself out of prison if I broke that stupid law. I then went back home with my belongings and everyone made fun of me as usual. But that time it was the worst because my sister said some pretty awful things about me. She said it was because of my filthy self that my ex-husband took the children away from me. She said I was trying to manipulate and trick Bandhu back into our marriage. Why on earth would I want to be in a relationship with that jerk, especially after what he's done? I finally understood that Rachna had lost all the respect and love she had for me. The family had turned my sister against me because I chose a different path for myself. How selfish and despicable is that? I could no longer recognize any of them, not even my own father. My sister graduated out of college and she was so anxious to get her final results as she thought that she might have failed a certain module. But she nailed every single one of them, and the whole family was proud of her. Even though she lost all respect for me, I was super proud of her still. She was doing the most as the youngest cub of the whole pride, and the day of the graduation, everyone dressed up to go to her college for support. Just when I was getting into the family car, she pushed me out and asked where I thought I was headed to.
I was stunningly dressed to go show how much I was proud of my little sister. I fell out of the car and she closed the door in my face. I picked myself up, dropped tears as I walked in my heels back into the house. It was one of the worst days of my life. I stayed at home and got my eye bags dark in color from so much crying. The whole family went for a photo shoot and came back to hang the portrait in the living room. I was in unexplainable pain. I was holding a grudge against everybody, and the day passed with me in my room, and I just kept playing the lottery in private. And 4 months ago, well, you know what they say. Even a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. I hit the jackpot. No one in the family knows, and they keep throwing all kinds of bad words my way, and I feel like throwing it back into their face because I am the richest woman in town. But I want to think of a perfect revenge plan for them, and after all my family had done to me, I need to know, am I the a-hole if I plan revenge? I've learned my lesson, and I'll never spoil them the way I used to, because I've seen their true colors. Behind their previous smiles and praises were thoughts of hate and jealousy. They think I'm some egotistical lunatic, and that speaks a lot about the people I thought are my family, just because we share the same blood bond. People say that blood is thicker than water, but I am no vampire. I don't feed on blood. Water is essential. Because nowadays we're helping way more by strangers than family. Well, I'll be back for the last update soon. Mr. Reddito here, so I thought that was it. There was not another update posted until I scrolled down in the comments, and 4 years later, OP replied to one of the commenters asking, where the heck is this update? OP posted this 4 years since the last update. Guys, I honestly missed y'all. You guys gave me the courage to go in, and, well, I guess I have a lot to tell you. Good news or bad news first? I'd say let's start with the bad news. My ex-husband turned out to be more than just a stupid idiot. He was working for my dad the whole time we were married. Can you believe it? After I graduated high school, my father tried to talk me into studying education to be like everyone else in the whole family house. Yeah. He knew that I had big dreams rather than just being a school teacher. I wanted to be much more, and I had no idea that my life choices would turn my father against me. He had a whole plan to destroy me and bring me back to being a school teacher after I graduated. He kept insisting that I should get married because I was getting old. But I was always busy with work, and that's when he planned his next pawn, and that was Bandhu. Bandhu knew exactly what was happening, and there's no excuse that he was unaware that he was a pawn in Father's game, because he was paid for the job. I'm the one who had no clue that I was being played big time. Even the thought of it makes me sick to my stomach. Bandhu and Father kept calling each other and kept planning, and Bandhu even forgot that I clothed his stupid butt, as he was unemployed, and fed him. I was faithful. I was an honest wife, but I guess I was just some toy to him. And all he did was make me lose my job. He gave me kids as a form of distraction from work, but nothing was going to stop me because I was optimistic. And that's when he bribed a janitor at the bank to plant the money in the account under my name. I was shocked to learn that. You're probably wondering how I know the truth, right? Well, I overheard Father talking on the phone with my ex-husband Bandhu, and he was complaining that he needs more money, and Dad kept telling him just to wait. I barged into his room and demanded an explanation. He fell to the ground and started crying as he explained. There was nothing I could do to Father at that point, as much as I wanted to rip him apart for ruining life for almost 10 years. Anyone would honestly understand the pain I was going through. I used that against Bandhu in court to get my boys back. Well, let's get back to the situation that was at home. My sister came from work and found me in bed. She wasn't happy that I was not smiling for the first time in like a millennium. An exaggeration, of course, but honestly, I've not genuinely smiled ever since I lost my job at the bank. She asked me why was I looking happy. She asked if I got a job. I said no, with a smile on my face, and she began with her daily bread, which is calling me names, insulting me, and making fun of my empty bank account. I was running out of patience. I've experienced her talk for years, and because I could do something about it, it was a wonderful feeling. I turned on my phone. I showed this little creep my bank account, and I watched her jaws drop as she could not believe what she was seeing. Her face immediately changed from bully to a face full of embarrassment. I was happy to see her speechless for the first time in her life. I walked out of the room and left her drowning in her own shame. She was probably wondering where I got the money from, but it was satisfying to see how ashamed she was. She later followed me into the lounge and made a sin. She called everyone into the lounge and made them sit. She then starts asking, "Has anyone lost a lot of money in the house?" She's insinuating a lot of things about me. She told everyone that I have so much money in the bank, which is impossible for a person like me to have. And she forgot that I was a freaking millionaire before my father ruined my life. Everyone made me sit, and they interrogated me like I was some kind of criminal. They asked me where I got the money. I told them what was the truth. At this point, they insulted me and said that I'm a disgrace. But by then, I couldn't care because I could leave that house at any moment from then, and a few hours later that same day, everybody gathered in the lounge and decided that I had to share my winnings with my sister. She said she had dreams of building her own school, which will then be a family school, and all the kids born into the family can teach at that exact school. I sarcastically laughed at them as they discussed their plans, and after they finished discussing, they looked at me and waited for me to agree. But I refused in the rudest way I thought possible. And it was then that evening that I moved out of that filthy house. A few weeks later, Bandhu came over to the house and asked me to get back with him. Was he hit hard in the head or something? After all the pain he made me go through, he had the intrepidity to come into my new house and ask me to take him back. He must have left his brain somewhere on the way here. I didn't hesitate to call the police on him because he's no longer allowed anywhere close to the boys, and I never had in my head that I could ever win a case against him in court, but it was way easier than blowing candles off of a birthday cake. I was happy to see him being dragged by the police. He deserved every bad thing that he was coming his way, because he's a two-faced freak who only wanted to make my life a living heck. He did everything my father told him like he was a dog. Sometimes I'm in denial that he ever loved me, but I guess it's explained the sudden hate he felt for me when I lost my job, or rather say, he snatched my job and threw it into the ditch. He is an excuse of a man. I spent so many years rejecting men who really cared for me, and I fell for this first jerk who was sent my way by my own father. Absolutely no one from the people around ever genuinely loved me except for my sons. Everyone kept pretending and playing me like a ball on a soccer field. It hurts when I think about it, to be honest. Especially the duo, Bandhu and Dad. What they did deserves punishment, but I would be wasting my time trying to teach unteachable animals. After I moved out of the house, everything was dead to me and my sons. They tried to persuade me to take the boys to visit the whole family, but they didn't think about my kids when they took my job away, did they? And after my life grew back, they've been all over my inbox and my house trying to snatch my money again, but they will never fool me twice. I will keep my distance and show them just how much I don't need them. I've started my own auditing company, and I'm honestly just so proud that my oldest son has decided to study auditing and join and help me run the company. He also has decided to cut all ties with his father after hearing what he's done to me, and I have nothing to worry about. If they were close, I would be worried because Bandhu and Dad are capable of using my son as a pawn to take me down. I'll never be a teacher, and they can only try, but I'll never allow them to push me down like that ever again. I went through the hardest of time in my life, and now know how it feels to have nothing. I'm planning on building houses for some homeless people and contribute to the betterment of the society around my city. What do you think about my plan? I know I can't give a roof to every homeless man out there, but I can give to as many as I can. I think that's it for me. It was a long journey full of thorns and rods, but I've made it, and I want to express my sincere gratitude. Guys, I appreciate you all.
So this story is just a basic karma and revenge story. I would like to know your thoughts about it, and if you've ever been in a similar situation where maybe one of your siblings gets more attention or something. I know a lot of people probably haven't won the lottery like OP did, but maybe something similar. Drop your thoughts down below, guys. Let's talk about it. Thank you for joining in on today's wild saga. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one.